Not all of our minisodes need to be from listeners. In fact, places or lesser-known cases can sometimes take us to dark realms. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of Dark Realms. And yes, this week I did promise you a video version. Unfortunately, as I stated, the studio is going through a bit of a makeover at the moment, and I'm the one doing it, and I'm not very good at it, which meant I've drilled through something which has basically turned the electricity off in the loft or the attic. So I've put together a makeshift studio, which is great for recording, but not for video. The electrician is booked for the start of the week, so fingers crossed we should have electricity in the studio once more, and next week we will finally have a video edition. However, by way of almost recompense, or the best I can do recompense-wise for no video, we're going to look at a dark realm which I had scheduled for later in the season, simply because I've been to this place. It's a magical, wonderful, timeless place, and it's a place which is very close to my heart. But I did not know just how dark of a realm one particular area of this place was. I've been to this particular city numerous times, and it's literally I've been to this particular city numerous times, and every time it feels like I'm coming home in a strange sense. Now, when I first saw this particular dark realm, without realizing it was a dark realm, it is literally just a beautiful, historic building, acting like some sort of sentinel, guarding the banks of the river Tiber. Yes, that's right. Today we're going to take a trip to the eternal city of Rome to look at arguably one of its most unknown or less known dark realms, Castel Sant'Angelo. But very quickly beforehand, just to remind you all, our Patreon is now offering a free week at the highest tier, so you can head over there and you can listen to things such as Dark Bites, the Patreon-only podcast, and the entire back catalogue for a full week at your leisure. And if it's not for you, as the US says, no harm, no foul. Just cancel and no charge will be made. So either head over to patreon.com/thedarkparanormal or click the link in the show notes. But right now, let's step foot into one of the most beautiful, historic, and it appears malevolently dark realms that we've possibly ever set foot into. Castel Sant'Angelo. From its positioning, which is basically en route to St. Peter's Basilica, it's kind of lost within the massive architecture around. That said, Castel Sant'Angelo still looms as one of Rome's most proudest monuments. However, by day it's like a small fish in a big pond. Anywhere else in the world it would probably be much more revered, as the sun glints off its stonework. By night, its stones whisper with centuries of torment. Built as an emperor's tomb, later a fortress, and then a prison, countless executions, tortures, and betrayals all unfolded within these very walls, and on the adjacent bridge, imbuing the site with a sinister aura. It's no wonder that these legends say some of those tragic souls still walk there today. And today, we delve into three of the most terrifying spirits said to haunt Castel Sant'Angelo and its surroundings. Each grim history brings with it a terrifying tale. And we begin with Beatrice Cenci, the headless lady of the bridge. In 1599, a 22-year-old Beatrice Cenci, a Roman noblewoman, was executed in front of Castel Sant'Angelo for the murder of her violently abusive father, Count Francesco Cenci. Beatrice's life had been a nightmare. Her father's reign of terror drove the family to desperation. With her stepmother Lucrezia and her brothers, Beatrice plotted to kill the tyrant. They drugged Francesco and bludgeoned him to death, tossing his broken corpse from a balcony to feign an accident. But their ruse failed, and Pope Clement VIII showed no mercy, despite public sympathy for Beatrice's plight. And at dawn on the 11th of September 1599, Beatrice and Lucrezia were led to a scaffold by the Tiber. Before a horrified crowd, Beatrice's brothers were brutally killed. Then Beatrice and her stepmother were publicly beheaded with a small axe. Ever since that fateful September morning, legend says that Beatrice's spirit cannot rest. It cannot lay quiet. Romans insist that each year, on the night before, September the 10th, the pale figure of Beatrice Cenci returns to Castel Sant'Angelo, cradling her severed head in her hands. She appears as a mournful apparition in white, said to wander the bridge where she died. Those who claim to have witnessed her describe a heartbreaking sight. One quote says, "She walks slowly, with elegance but sadness. Sometimes she stops, leaning over the bridge to the Tiber below." One local legend even warns that her spirit shows itself especially to men who harbour cruelty, as if seeking some kind of justice. Residents who live near the old Cenci Palace, her family home, also claim to occasionally hear disembodied sobbing. They feel a sorrowful presence, as if Beatrice herself drifts between her old home and the bridge, unable to find any peace. While many dismiss the sightings as fanciful, some witnesses stick to their story. An American visitor on vacation recounted a horrific encounter. "At sunrise, I heard a scream, and I looked to see a headless woman holding her head out and down over the bridge as if looking for something." Those who do meet her empty gaze on the bridge might find themselves haunted by a beautiful sorrow and a desolate helplessness in her eyes. Beatrice's ghost, with her tragic story, continues to grip Rome's imagination. The beautiful young woman wronged in life and now eternally grieving in death. Next, we turn our attention to a spirit who, for some reason, is not well known, but should be, because it's one of the most sinister apparitions I think we've ever covered on the show. Even though we have a history of his life, and indeed tales of his ghost, all of which, of course, we will cover in as much detail as we can, for me, there's something rather odd about the feeling I get discussing something I know nothing about, or a spirit I know nothing about, and getting this particular weird feeling within me. There is still something intangible about just how mysterious and malevolent and intriguing this spirit is. So now it's time to take a look at Mastro Tita, the executioner in red. Giovanni Battista Bugatti, nicknamed Mastro Tita, was the official executioner of the Papal States for nearly 70 years, from 1796 to 1864. By profession, he was an unassuming umbrella maker, but Bugatti led a double life as Rome's feared headsman. He lived just across the Tiber, in the Borgo district, because executioners were forbidden to reside within the city proper. Whenever duty called, Mastro Tita would cross Castel Sant'Angelo in his ominous red cloak, a sight that made Romans whisper nervously, "Mastro Tita is crossing the bridge," knowing that meant blood would soon be spilled. By his own meticulous records, we know he executed 516 people by methods ranging from hangings to beheadings to the horrific quartering of bodies. Public executions were gruesome spectacles, often staged right at Castel Sant'Angelo's gate or nearby piazzas. Dismembered heads sometimes were put on display on the bridge as a warning. Fathers would take their sons, and if someone was decapitated and the head hit the floor, at the moment of impact the father would strike the son as a warning against sin. Incredibly, arguably psychopathically cold, Bugatti approached his grim task with a peculiar civility. He was known to offer a pinch of snuff tobacco to the condemned as a last gesture of mercy. When the papal state fell in 1870, Mastro Tita's long, lethal career finally ended. But it seems his ghost still roams. In the stillness of dawn near Castel Sant'Angelo, some have reported a chilling figure emerging from the mist. A tall, shadowy man in a crimson cloak stood on the empty bridge as the first light of day breaks. He then approaches you with measured steps, and then silently proffers a snuff box. Legend insists that you refuse this offer at all costs, and I quote, "If you meet a strange individual walking along Ponte Sant'Angelo offering tobacco, run away, because it is Mastro Tita, the executioner of Rome," warns the local law. But it's in the further descriptions of this spirit where it gets far too creepy for me. The ghost is said to appear exactly as Bugatti did in life, a polite, grandfather-like figure with kindly eyes, and the blood of hundreds on his hands. A watchman once quit his post after meeting that figure and hearing the words, "Care for a smoke?" Others speak of phantom scaffolds, cries cut short, the thud of invisible bodies hitting the floor. Some nights it's not only Tita who appears, but his victims too, wandering the bridge in eternal protest. To meet the executioner in red is said to put you in the presence of death itself. Now, as we like to do on Dark Realms, we try to save the darkest till last. And that's exactly what we've done again as we take a look at Count Cagliostro, the cursed alchemist otherwise known as the occult prisoner. Alessandro di Cagliostro, born Giuseppe Balsamo, was a self-styled sorcerer, an alchemist and a Freemason whose fame across Europe was matched only by his infamy. Charismatic and controversial, Count Cagliostro claimed to possess ancient mystical knowledge, from potions of eternal youth to psychic healing, and he dazzled high society with seances and occult rituals. But those dark arts caught up with him in Rome, and in 1789 the Inquisition arrested Cagliostro on charges of heresy, Freemasonry and fraud. He was imprisoned in Castel Sant'Angelo, where over the course of his trial he endured 43 interrogations. Many suspect torture in the papal dungeons. It was his wife, Lorenza, who betrayed him to the authorities after suffering abuse at his hands. She testified against him, sealing his fate. Cagliostro was condemned to death, but the Pope commuted the sentence to life in prison. The sorcerer was then consigned to a specifically horrific cell. According to law, he was lowered through a trapdoor in the ceiling and placed in a windowless stone oubliette. Oubliettes, of course, have no escape, and when that trapdoor shuts, no light. It's a place to drive people insane. Oubliette, of course, comes from the French for forgotten. After some time, he was transferred under guard to the remote fortress of San Leo in northern Italy. where he died in 1795 under mysterious circumstances. Yet it would appear death did not silence Cagliostro's legend nor spirit. Cagliostro's ghost story carries an extra layer of dread because of his occult reputation. People long whispered that in his last days, the Count cursed his persecutors and perhaps even cast a spell to cheat death. Some versions of the legend claim that his spirit roams not only Vicolo del Grotte, the street where he met Lorenza, but also the dank corridors of Castel Sant'Angelo itself, where he was first held. Guards and visitors over the years have reported strange phenomena in the castle's old prison cells. Cold winds swirling in sealed rooms, orbs of light, fleeting visions of gaunt men in 18th century clothing. One chilling tale from the 1930s describes a custodian who accidentally got locked in the very cell said to have held Cagliostro. And he swore he felt an unseen presence both watching him and then clawing at the walls. When finally freed, he was babbling about the eyes that were peering on him, the sounds of scratches upon those very walls, and a constant feeling of, and I quote, madness, jealousy, and rage. Occult enthusiasts like to point out that Cagliostro, an alchemist, may have attempted to summon demons or bind his soul to this world. Indeed, during Rome's Napoleonic occupation, French soldiers quartered at Castel Sant'Angelo claimed the dungeon was haunted by a mad monk, one who, as they tried to sleep, would scrape the walls and utter curses at them. Modern occultists still believe the Count did bind his soul there, caught between curses and broken promises. So if you ever do visit Castel Sant'Angelo, and you hear a voice call, Lorenza, in the Roman night, beware, because it may well be the cursed alchemist himself. Castel Sant'Angelo is more than a site of beauty and the romance of the eternal city, or of mere stone in history. It's a mausoleum of restless spirits. The tragic Beatrice wandering with her head in her own hands. The executioner in red, offering death with a smile and some snuff. And the alchemist, cursed to cry forever for a faithless love. As I said at the start, I love Rome and I find it like a second home. But if you do find yourself on Ponte Sant'Angelo at night, listen closely. The executions may be long finished, but their whispers remain. That sobbing you think you hear on a warm summer evening walk, that old, gentle, polite voice offering tobacco, the name you think you hear being shouted, echoing down a narrow, empty street. Proof, perhaps, and possibly no surprise in the ancient enigma that is Rome, that the past never truly dies. And even in the eternal city, you can find a genuinely dark realm. Until next time, guys, stay safe and take care.